What's going on, nation? AJ Riley here with the corner from the beautiful DSN Studios. A little different setting than normal that we do this show from, and we have some exciting things to talk about, not exciting things to talk about, as is the case with this team, because on a day-to-day basis, we don't know which team is going to show up to play baseball for the Detroit Tigers. Is it going to be the team that's just absolutely terrible and can't score a run, or the team that puts up 14 runs like they did on Saturday and has some energy and is hitting the ball out of the ballpark? Who knows? It's really a flip of the coin at this point. The entire season, up until Saturday, and we're going to talk about that specifically, but up until Saturday, it's really been a flip of a coin. You really have no idea what you're going to get day in and day out with this Detroit Tigers baseball team. Before we do get started, I want to remind you to hit that like button, the subscribe button on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the social channels where you get your social media news. You can get Detroit Sports Nation content there, and we would love to have you subscribe to those channels. So let's get into our series recap with the Texas Rangers. The Rangers were in for a 4-game set Thursday through Sunday at Comerica Park. It was a great weekend by all accounts, a honoring of the Negro League past, the Detroit Stars specifically. You had Cecil Fielder, who won the Willie Horton Man of the Year award. They raised a flag for Turkey Stearns in center field on Friday night, and then on Saturday they wore those beautiful Detroit Stars uniforms, which seemed to bring them a little bit of luck. The first two games, Thursday and Friday, were abysmal. Tigers scored 1 run on Thursday night and actually went into the top of the ninth with a 1-0 lead, and then Gregory Soto came into the game and couldn't find the strike zone and walked and hit batters and walked another batter and then gave up a bases clearing double that ultimately lost them the game 3-1. And then Friday was no different. Friday they couldn't even put a run across home plate and ended up losing 7-0, and it was brutal. And I told you guys in the last episode of The Corner, if they don't win 3 out of 4, it's probably time to start looking towards who they can draft number 1 overall next season, because this season's done for. They are done. They're 14 games under 500 as they stand coming into their series with Boston, and it's just not looking great. But then news broke on Friday that Austin Meadows had hit the COVID list, which paved the way for prize prospect Riley Greene to hop on a plane, get to Detroit, and make his MLB debut, which he did on Saturday. And there's been plenty of articles on Detroit Sports Nation written about Riley Greene, the potential impact that he can have, and we saw that impact start Saturday. He hit 6th on Saturday and reached base 4 times. It's the first time, or the 4th time, in Detroit Tigers history that somebody made a debut and reached base safely 4 times. He drew 2 walks, which I thought the Tigers were actually allergic to doing, drawing walks, because they don't do that very well. We know that they have a historically bad base on ball rate, which was about 6.5% going into the series, and he drew 2 walks right off the bat, which was fantastic. And then you started to notice that these older players also started to draw walks. And even in their game on Sunday, the Tigers had more base on balls than they did strikeouts. And I'm telling you, hell's frozen over. Because at that point, when they're drawing more walks than they are striking out, that's a good thing. We've talked about approach. We've talked about the way that they go into their at-bats. And when they're having longer at-bats, it actually tends to work out in their favor. And I don't want to put this kind of pressure on Riley Greene, but his debut has made a huge impact on this Detroit Tigers club, with veterans taking longer at bats, drawing walks. Javi Baez even drawing walks on Saturday and Sunday. It is fantastic. And they ended up winning Saturday by a score of 14-7. The Detroit Tigers, the worst run-producing team in Major League Baseball, put 14 runs across the dish. And then on Sunday, they actually won 7-3 and did another fantastic job of hitting the ball, but not just getting one hit in an inning, getting multiple hits in an inning, and then moving runners over and moving guys up and pushing runs across the plate and scoring 7 runs on Sunday and ended up splitting the series. So I told you last episode, right? If they don't win 3 out of 4, it's time to start looking towards the number 1 overall pick in the MLB draft next year, because this season is done. I said 2 out of 4 would be acceptable, but at this point, we need to start winning series. We need to start winning more games than we're losing. And I wasn't accounting for Riley Greene getting called up for sure, but I don't think that it's one of those things that he's going to be a savior of the season. Okay, this is a sub 500 ball club that's going to be a sub 500 ball club because of the people that are in charge of this ball club, the roster that they've constructed. Yes, Al Avila drafted Riley Greene. Congratulations, he fell into your lap. You don't get a prize for doing what you're supposed to do. Okay, this team's still being constructed by the worst GM in baseball, and regardless of the success that they have moving forward from Saturday for the rest of the season, if I want to build a successful ball club, I am not letting this guy touch the trade deadline or the draft that's coming up, because we see the roster that he's built and it's been terrible. We're glad that they got 2 wins out of 4 against Texas, but they should have had 3. Thank you, Gregory Soto, for that. The Tigers sit 26-40 right now, 14 games under 500. Their offense is still pretty terrible, but they showed flashes of being better. 3 home runs hit on Saturday, which they hadn't had a multi-home run game since April. They finally were able to hit for extra base hits and actually drive the baseball. Victor Reyes has done a very good job at the top of the lineup, actually getting on base and setting the table. And Robbie Grossman, hadn't a 20 home run guy last year, hasn't had a home run all season and hits 2 in back-to-back games. That's great for the Tigers, not only in their run producing ability, but Grossman's one of those names that will get tossed around at the trade deadline. So the more he can up his value between now and that deadline, the better off it's going to be for the Tigers, and it's going to be even better if Al Avila is not the one trading him. And I'm going to just continue to say that because this guy is terrible. But let's move forward, and let's stop talking so negative, and let's look at who the Tigers are playing. They've traveled. They left Detroit yesterday after the game, and they're going to Boston to play in the historic Fenway Park, where they will take on the Boston Red Sox, who are 36-31. They are 4th place in the AL East. Yes, a team 5 games over 500 is 4th place in that division because of how good the AL East actually is. When you talk about the Yankees, the Rays, the Blue Jays, and then the Red Sox sitting in 4th place. They're a good ball team, but they're susceptible. We have an opportunity to maybe steal a game. I doubt that we win the series just because of how Jekyll and Hyde this team has been. But if they can string some hits together in a stadium like Fenway Park that has weird dimensions and opportunities all over the place for balls to be hit in the gap and doubles to be had, then they can maybe scratch out a game. And especially when you look at the fact that we have our 3 best pitchers starting these 3 games. Alex Faedo starts Monday night. Bo Brisky starts Tuesday night. And then the ace of the staff, Tarek Skubal, who's had not so great of an outing the last 2 outings. Didn't even make it to 6 innings in his last outing. But yet still the bona fide ace of the staff going on Wednesday. So if you put that combination together of those 3 players, those 3 pitchers taking the hill and giving the Tigers an opportunity to win, they could scratch out a game. They might scratch out a second game and get a series win. But look, 1 game at a time. Play Monday's game, see how it goes. Play Tuesday's game, see how it goes. Play Wednesday's game and see how it goes. And hopefully walk out of there with 2 wins out of 3. They're going to be facing off game 1, Josh Winkowski. He's got a 4.50 ERA. Very susceptible. Tigers got to work at bats, be patient, draw those walks, not strike out, move runners up. Same thing that we talk about that they failed to do so many times. But we started to see signs of this last weekend. Is going to be key in this series against Boston, especially in a park like Fenway, where you have a very short left field wall, very high left field wall, but it's very short, only 310 down the left field line, and then big cavernous gaps in left center field and right center field. Driving the ball to those gaps is going to be operation number one for the Tigers. On Tuesday, the ageless wonder Rich Hill is going to be taking the mound for the Boston Red Sox. He's sitting at a 4.42 ERA. Nice, crafty lefty that is going to keep the hitters on their toes, and it's going to be imperative that they see pitches and get the mistake pitches and drive those pitches. And then Wednesday is going to be stud versus stud. Michael Wacha and Tarek Skubal. Wacha comes in with a 2.28 ERA, which obviously is very good, especially in June. So it's definitely going to be imperative for the Tigers to jump out, be aggressive in their bats, and when they get a pitch to drive, not miss it, and make sure that they are moving runners up and pushing runs across the plate. That's the name of the game. You cannot win if you do not score. And it's really interesting, right? We look at numbers a lot. And when the Tigers have scored 3 or more runs, they are 24-9 on the season. 3 or more runs. When they have scored 2 or less runs, they are 2-31. So when we talk about run production, and we talk about getting runs across home plate, it is imperative that when you're going into a place like Boston, you are doing everything you can to lengthen at bats, to lengthen innings, get those extra outs, push those runners across home plate so that you can score runs. For the worst run-producing team in Major League Baseball, this is the name of the game. Score runs any way and every way that you possibly can. To finish up the corner tonight, let's talk about Riley Greene. Now, Riley Greene came into our dugout Saturday, making his debut. And it was one of those things that he should have done opening day. But unfortunate for the Tigers, which kind of started the ball rolling on their bad luck for the season. But unfortunate for the Tigers, he fractured his foot, was out for 7 weeks, and has been rehabbing in AAA since he was able to return. But he made his debut on Saturday. And it was the type of debut that a rebuild needs to see. See, Spencer Torkelson also made his debut this season, along with 6 other prospects. There have been 8 Detroit Tigers that have made their debuts this season. That's what you get when you have the 5th youngest roster in MLB. But Riley Greene's debut was different than all of the other 7. Because Riley Greene came in, looked comfortable, did not look overmatched, got on base 4 times, and got his first MLB hit in his first MLB at-bat. That's what you need from the number 2 prospect in all of baseball. And I don't want to backtrack on anything that I've said about this team and how they're not going to be great, how they're not going to reach 500. I'm not going to backtrack on any of this because the roster is still what the roster is. But the question has to be asked, what if Riley Greene had started the season healthy? And what if Riley Greene had been manning center field since the beginning of the season, since opening day? I wonder if this team would look a little bit different. And I wonder if over the next 96 games, this team's going to look a lot different because of number 31. That may not be a question that I can answer for you right now, but if the first 2 games, which I understand are a very small sample size, but if the first 2 games are any indication of what this young prospect can bring to our Detroit Tigers, then there should be a little bit of hope. There should be some good feelings moving forward saying, you know what? We got a good prospect. We got a guy that can actually play baseball. And play baseball at a very high level at such a young age. Don't forget, Riley Greene's only 21 years old. He is actually the 3rd youngest Tiger to make their debut at 21 years old. The only person younger than him, I forget who number 1 was, but second on that list is a guy we may have heard of named Tyrus Raymond Cobb. He's in the company as far as the history of the Detroit Tigers go in great company. So I don't want to put too much pressure on Riley Greene's shoulders. But I do want to say I like what I'm seeing so far. And it always makes me wonder, what if? What if he had started on opening day? Would this team be 14 games under 500? And it's a team game, right? It's not predicated on one person entirely. This entire team has struggled. But in the 2 games that he has played, our offense is a lot different. Our offense is, dare I say, good in those 2 games. The test will be, what are these next 3 games look like in Boston? Is there that much of an immediate impact for Riley Greene in the debut that he's had? Let's see Wednesday afternoon if he can continue having the impact on this lineup that he had in the first 2 games. And then they travel to Arizona after that. Can that continue? Is he really that much of an impact player? I like to believe yes, because everything that you hear about the kid is that he's a great baseball player, but he's a great person. And hopefully that can rub off on a lot of those guys along that 26-man roster that can start to produce the way the back of their baseball card says that they've produced in the past. And I think we'll get there. I don't think it's going to make a playoff push. I don't hear me say anything crazy. But over the next 96 games, 48 and 48, let's see how these next 96 games go with Riley Greene sitting in the lineup and manning center field every day. I think it'll be good, and it should give us at least a little bit of a reason to hope for the future of our Tigers, with Clemens doing a great job. Torkelson struggling, but you expect that for a guy that hasn't played much since he was drafted because of COVID and things like that. And now you have Riley Greene. The youth is here. It's what all the fans were longing to see. So let's see how they have an impact on the rest of these 96 games. That's going to do it for me here from the beautiful DSN studios. Here on the corner, I am AJ Reilly, and I will see you Thursday before the next series with the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Man on a mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a what?